What's up, comic and pop culture fans? This is James with Mint Hunter Comics, and between working 2 jobs, maintaining a YouTube page, and girlfriend, so I guess that's more like 4 jobs, she's gonna kill me for that comment. It's about 100 hours a week, 7 days a week, and I'm finding it's actually pretty difficult to devote an entire day to doing a comic book haul under the circumstances. So I thought I'd just make a massive compilation of every single comic book interaction or flea market from the past 4 weeks and put it into one massive epic comic haul video for you guys. Before we start this massive haul off, hit that like, subscribe, hit that bell notification for videos like this. The 5,000 subscriber giveaway is going to be every single Legends of the Dark Knight issue, the complete run. And stay tuned to the end of the video, guys. We're going to talk about the cream of the crop and what everything is worth. What's up, everybody? James from Mint Hunter Comics here. We're doing another massive comic book haul, and we're starting it off in the city of Trenton. First stop, one place that I've never gone to before, Comic Lair in Trenton. This place was amazing. Really cool dude, and he actually had some of the most awesome 9.8 CGC collections I've seen. I got to hold some of my favorites, like first appearance of Ahsoka Tano, and the rare Damian Wayne first appearance. Let's check it out. We were successful. I opted for a couple more for my Green Lantern collection, but what's most important is what I'm about to show you right now, which is the Ultimate Comics Spider-Man issue number 1. It's not the super rare preview, but this book in a 9.8 is fetching some crazy numbers, so the deal I got for it, I had to pick it up. One of the sharpest copies I've seen in the wild. I just got my second vaccine. I'm fully vaccinated, so I thought I would try a local comic book shop in the area. I'm in Marlton, New Jersey. I'm at Stormwatch Comics. Yeah, this was a cool place. I figured since I already had the day off from getting the vaccine, I thought I'd do some comic shopping. Went here, a really cool guy as well. They had really nice dollar bins and a fantastic indie comic selection. I was pretty impressed overall. I ended up only getting one thing, but I was still happy. Alright, nothing crazy. It's a comic book shop that deals mostly in new stuff. Ironically, that was probably the nicest guy I've met in my entire life. I only grabbed one thing, a Green Lantern 1 in 25 variant. So, got a rare variant out of it. That's pretty cool. Check him out if you're looking for new books and a bunch of new stuff coming in. He does one of the 1 in 25s and the 150 variants. Cool place. Even though my girlfriend was with me and I'm sure she was bored to death, we did one more in the area. Next location, we're in Glassboro, and we're headed to the comic book store. This was a really good store, guys. They had some serious nice issues. Everything, like 90% of the store was in Mylar. I was really impressed with their organizational skills. They had a wall that was full of really awesome books, but everything was priced pretty high. It was a big, long wall, and I checked pretty much everything out, and I almost gave up until I saw this, which is not a comic, it's actually a magazine, but it is the first appearance of the New Mutants. This was the next weekend. I wasn't even going to do any comic hunting, but a fan of the channel named Connor actually reached out. He just bought a massive collection of like 4,000 comics and wanted me to take a look. Drove down to Delaware, checked it all out, everything looked fantastic. He had little full runs of tons of stuff going on, and I was able to find a lot of this, and I'm going to put a link to the website so you can see. I also got to check out this awesome, amazing Spider-Man 300, but he wasn't selling it. I wouldn't either. Yeah, some great books, a lot of good Silver Age, a lot of good Bronze Age, in pretty decent condition. Ended up picking up some of the really nice silvers you're about to see soon. So here's what I got, a very high-grade Silver Surfer 50, first appearance of Lyssa Drax, Green Lantern, couple oddball Green Lantern books from my own collection, first Black Cat, very nice, another Spider-Man one there, a couple more Spideys, first Deadpool's solo title, the Wedding album, first Cassandra Cain, very nice, and some crazy high-grade silver Green Lanterns and Batman. I went right down the road to Between Books 2.0. The guy had a really sad story about having to move his store, and apparently it's a much, much smaller location. I really felt for him. He still had a lot of cool books, and I wanted to support the business. Guys, Between Books 2.0, great place. Come and get some great graphic novels. Awesome.
Ironically, I did not get any comics, but I did get this awesome Batman the Animated Series game. Should be pretty fun. Me and my girlfriend are big into game night, so this is kind of best of both worlds. Awesome.
Right down the street from this place was another comic book shop, and I was very impressed, but unfortunately I was really pending one more pay stub, so I was pretty low on money. I'd love to come back down here, especially since Delaware has no sales tax or something crazy. Amazing. They had a lot of great books, but I was so budgeted at this point that I just really couldn't get too much. Here they have amazing new books, Bronze Age, Silver Age, any age you can think. They've got a fantastic collection. This was one of the nicer comic book shops out of all the ones I went to. I highly recommend.
I only got one book from the comic book shop in Newcastle, Delaware, but it's a good one.
Guaranteed 9.8 of the first appearance of Jessica Cruz, a book that I have had tremendous luck with. Guaranteed 9.8. This one's an easy pickup. Very nice.
Sorry for the shaky cam. Up next, we're going to Phantasm Comics in New Hope, Pennsylvania. This is one of my local comic book shops, and they always do real good by me. And actually, Greg, the owner, just got a new collection in, and he just let me know, so I'm going to go take a look at that, see if there's anything good.
Phantasm Comics, New Hope. Greg, if you're watching, how you doing, buddy? Great place, great place. I've been here 500 times. This is one of two of my local comic book shops. Just an amazing place, but this time I went specifically to check out the new collection that came in. So let's take a look. Everything was alphabetical in his back room. Some really cool books. A lot of things were signed. There was a really nice Flash run. A lot of the Flash Rebirth and Jeff Johns. Some great Fantastic Fours. It really had kind of everything. Immediately, obviously, you guys know I flocked to the Green Lanterns and found this perfect appearance of Kilowog. Works for me.
Oh, that was a good one. Let's check it out. I had some store credit with them. That is officially all out. First appearance of Kilowog in a 9.8 contender. Very freaking nice. SheHulk #1, and you know what's tragic about this? And I actually got an even better deal than that, because it is perfect. Like, it is a perfect shape, but you see that water damage up there and that dirt? Someone perfectly preserved this book, only for someone to finally get it a little dirty and water damaged. That's kind of a shame. I don't know what CGC will grade that. Got a super clean, super nice Superman 75. I think I've got a few of these. Some nice New Mutants. A nice Power Girl #27. You guys, if you know me, you know I love this book. It's a decent grade. DC Comics Presents #27. This is the first appearance of our dude Mongol right there. Very nice. Another Green Lantern 25. Freaking killing the game here. Really excited about that. I don't know if anything's about this. This is the second one I've got, actually. So now I have two of these suckers, so I should probably submit one in. If you see this, you get it. You can still find this for $10. It's the first appearance of Hush. Not bad. Some old Swamp Thing goodness right here, #7. That's the first Batman Swamp Thing meetup. Very nice. And my last book here, or second to last, I forgot I have one more, a big one, is Detective Comics 384. And this is in really nice condition. This could get a 9.0. Wish me luck. Last one up here, first appearance of Shang-Chi. I know we're going to be getting an upcoming Shang-Chi movie, so that could be pretty cool. Very nice.
Next up, I wanted to go back to the flea market. This is one of the local flea markets around me, and it's pretty bled dry in terms of comic books, but there's actually one antique store. It's not even a comic book store, but they sometimes have some really impressive comic books, and they switch them out all the time, which is why I like coming back to this place. And I picked up a Brother Voodoo first appearance. Strange Tales 169. Very nice. Got an awesome deal on that. A couple cool Batman books, and then bam! Here we go. The first Silver Age appearance of Scarecrow. Never found this one in the wild, much less at an antique store, and still getting a great deal on it. That was just amazing. Top 5 of the entire haul right there, guys. Next up, Cyborg 1. I heard that they got some nice Silver Age Green Lanterns in, so I went for that one reason. This was my other local comic book shop, and sure enough, they did have some really high-grade Green Lanterns. A lot of stuff was in like the 8.0, some of it almost reaching 9.0 range, which is pretty tough from some books from 1963. Works for me. Did get one of my favorite comics of all time, the Green Lantern number 40, first appearance of Krona. Awesome.
Now we are in the beautiful city of Philadelphia. We're going to the Ontario Street Comics. I'll put a link right here. You can check it out. Let's see.
This place was really, really cool. It felt like a massive stockroom. It was a little overwhelming at times. It looks like the accumulation of maybe like 50 years worth of comics. Massive, massive building. And once I thought I found it all, I would find a random back room that I would also have to explore. Everything in here was very high grade. They had a really nice, complete Batman run. Funny thing is, my Batman run's pretty solid, pretty complete, so I think I was good there. My biggest problem is that it was very disorganized. It was really hard to find complete runs, but they were in there kind of randomly. That's some nice Green Lantern collections here. Of course, I'm going straight for that, and I wanted to see if they might have Green Lantern Corps Quarterly number 8, the first appearance of Kyle Raynor, and sure enough, there it was. An easy pickup for me.
And I was in there for a while. I can't believe I didn't get more, but I did get a couple books for reading. I'm not even going to show you. It's just total reading material. And then here's one key that a lot of people still don't know about. This is the first full appearance of Kyle Raynor. It looks like a 9.4 and up, so it's nice to have that book for sure. Next up, guys, we went just right down the street. It was almost probably faster if I just walked there rather than driving. The traffic in this area is crazy, but let's check it out. Hoping to find some bigger titles at this place. We'll see. At least I'll get some coffee out of it. So they are closed and not reopening until June. Maybe they should update their Google to show that, so that I wouldn't have to drive all the way there. Oh well. Next location. All right, let's try this again. We're going to Brave New Worlds in Philly, and I'm going to call before I arrive.
Funny thing is, I know Brave New Worlds. This was one of the comic book shops I was most happy with at their second location. This time, I think this is the first location in Philly, and they had an awesome shop, especially coming from the Ontario comics. This one was so nicely organized. I was met with hot toys and t-shirts and just a very, very well-kept store. Everything in the store, comics-wise, was kept in beautiful mylar, so everything was in great shape. Ended up picking up a couple t-shirts and a couple cups, but it was all about this right here. All this back room, all these great full runs. They had a lot of extremely high-grade X-Men. Guys, if you're in Philly, you're going to want to go to their X-Men collection right now. Even better is I thought that they had really good prices, and I was able to negotiate a couple of the books that I got down even more. I wrestled with getting these two for about 10 full minutes. They were asking $300 for the first Iron and about $200 for the first Spider-Woman. They were around the 7.0, maybe 7.5 range. I eventually decided to pass, but how much you want to bet I'm going to regret that in a few months.
Alright, now that's more like it, guys. Batman 106, First Miracle Molly, first appearance of Homelander, and the 7 in The Boys issue 3. I think this is the first God of War in comics. We're really happy about this. You don't see this too much. Man, I pick this book up all the time, and I'm picking it up again. Looks like another clean 9.8. First appearance of Iron Maiden. Here's what I thought was the real win. They had both of these. This one was $10, and this one was $5. Very nice. And a couple stragglers. First appearance of Lyssa Drax. Very nice.
Alright guys, we're just out of the city now, and we are in Folsom, PA, at a shop called Comic Universe. Another one I've never been to, Let's see how we do.
Now this is what you want to see when you go to a comic book shop. Nothing but amazing wall books all the way circling the store. My #1 comic book shop pick has to go to these guys. This was just amazing. Littering the walls is some of my favorite comics ever. Everything was a very fair deal. This guy clearly was passionate about the books. Now, I wasn't able to haggle price down, but that's okay because the prices were pretty good already. I did run into one of the nicest grade books I've ever seen. This copy of Spawn 1 was nicer than books that I see off the press today. This very well could have been a 9.9. The guy wanted to submit it in himself.
And that place is amazing. Check it out.
I didn't get much, but what I did get is kind of a big deal. First appearance of Nebula. I think this could be a 9.8. I'll be submitting it out. This was $25. Very nice deal. Anybody know this one? First appearance of Apocalypse. It's probably a 9.4, but I'd be pretty happy with a 9.4. Spent $60 on this. So getting a little expensive, but I think if it gets a 9.4 or higher, that's going to be well worth my money. And this big one. Cannot believe the amount of Aquaman they had, and some of it was in much better quality, most of the other non-keys, but this is the first appearance of Black Manta, and while it's only probably maybe a 6.0, the deal I got on this was just insane, just insanity. So this one's well worth it to me. Look at that beautiful first appearance of Black Manta.
If you guys are still watching, let's talk about what every single thing here is worth. If you guys have watched my haul videos before, you know that I start small and I end up with the most valuable books that I got. So we're going to kick it off with Guy Gardner number 17. This is from 1994, and I pegged this at a near mint/mint. It is very possible that it can get a 9.8. And the reason I'm going to submit this in the CGC is there are no 9.8s on the census. And this is when Guy Gardner became Warrior. It's a mini key. I don't know too many people submitting Guy Gardner books other than his first appearance, but who knows? Maybe the HBO show will change that. Next up, Tales of the Green Lantern Corps Annual number 2. And you can already see I've prepared this for CGC. I want to make sure they get those labels on there. This is about a $25 book raw. This is very high grade, could fetch a 9.8. This one also will be going in the CGC. There's no sales data because there are no 9.8s. This is the first Prophecy of the Darkest Night, but it's also the first appearance of Sodam Yat. How there's no grades and a 9.8 on the census, that blows my mind. From 1986, this is kind of a pretty big Green Lantern key. Last one I'm going to give you with no sales data, this is Green Lantern Corps Quarterly number 8, and somehow people still don't know about this yet. This is the first true cameo of Kyle Raynor. He is seen in cameo in this book, and nobody knows about it. I submitted one of these into CGC just the other week, and it was actually a gift from a fan of the channel. Amazing Spider-Man 294, classic Craven cover there. This one's only in a very fine value. I'd put it at like a 9.092, not sending it into CGC. A fair price for this would be probably $10. The last CGC 9.2, which is probably what this would get, sold for only $30. I'm probably just going to give it to my friend. Next up, let's bring it to the 60s. We got Green Lantern number 62 in a 6.5. That's the rating I would give it anyway. It's honestly probably a $10 to $20 value book. The last 6.5 sold for only $40. Hopefully a press could bring it higher, give me a little bit of value. I probably won't submit that in though. Reading material, I think, here. Let's bring it back to Spidey. Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 21. I think this is the first or cover A. And it's probably a 9.4. I would put it at near mint. It probably can't get a 9.8 for a couple reasons. So this is probably a $10 to $20 book right here. If you were to submit it to CGC and get like a 9.4, the last 9.4 sold for $50. I'm probably not going to send it to CGC. I'll just give it to a friend. Batman 567, the first appearance of Cassandra Cain. This is probably like a 9.4. And terribly, even though this book used to have some value, it's probably only like a $10 raw right now. The last 9.4 sale went for a depressingly low $57. This book has really cooled down. Up next, Green Lantern number 18, the first appearance of Lyssa Drax, a very popular Sinestro Corps, Yellow Lantern Corps member. I've got this book a lot recently. This is like the 4th time I've picked this up in the last 3 months. Anyway, it is probably near mint. I'd peg this at a $20 to $30 pickup, and the last CGC went for only $60 in a 9.8, but that's because Green Lantern's pretty slept on right now. I would love that for the personal collection. Up next, we have a first print of the Silver Surfer number 50, a book that I used to read till it was almost detached back in the day. And I thought when I got it that it might get a 9.8. I noticed a couple problems with the foil on the surfboard, so it's probably only going to be a 9.4. The last 9.4 sold for $65. Spent $10 on this. I think that's fair, and I'm probably not sending it to CGC. Up next is one of my favorite comic books, and I am keeping it for a reader copy, although it is probably a 9.0, 9.2. DC Comics presents number 27, the first appearance of Mongol, one of my favorite Green Lantern, or DC really, villains that exist. Fair market value kind of is all over the place. It could be anywhere from $25 to maybe $50, even $60 for this book. The last CGC 9.0 sold for $70, so I'm going to keep this one. Green Lantern 67, I'd put it at fine value. It's probably a 7.5, which is actually pretty respectable for that black spine. You shouldn't pay more than $15 for this, though. The last sale for this grade in a CGC was about $60, so, but that's okay. I'm not sending it to CGC. This is a reader for me. Up next, we have another Silver Age Green Lantern, but it's a lot better quality. This could get an 8.0, maybe even an 8.5. Let's say it's an 8.0 though. The last 8.0 sold for $75 on CGC. I only paid $5 or $10 for this. I can't quite remember. So this could be worth it to send to CGC. Not quite sure. Invincible number 0 from 2005. Invincible is really hot right now, and this is a 9.8 as easy as they come. I'm definitely submitting it in. The last sale was only for $80 in a 9.8, but that was well over a year ago. Since then, there's been a show. Invincible's spiking. I think I could get over 100 for this. Green Lantern 25 is not the first appearance of Larfleeze, that's the first cameo. Green Lantern 39 is the first full appearance of Larfleeze, so I'm going to be sending it into CGC, and I'm going to make sure they get the notes right. The last sale in a 9.8 sold for about $90, $95, but I'm thinking that it's going to be going up higher, but it doesn't matter, because that's going to be for the personal collection alone. A little bit of an odd one here. Major Key, first appearance of Black Cat, Amazing Spider-Man 129, but it's honestly probably a 3.0. That is a reader copy as much as they come. Funny thing is, CGC 3.0s still fetch $100. That's what the last sale was anyway. So maybe I'll send the CGC, but I think I'll just keep it around as a reader. Another silver Green Lantern here. This is number 21, the first appearance of Dr. Polaris, a classic Green Lantern villain. And it's probably a 7.0, so it's not in the 8.0s like some of the other silver Green Lanterns I got. Probably 7.0. I might still submit it for its notoriety. Unfortunately, the last 7.0 only fetched $100, but we'll see. Not quite sure what to do with this. Next we got Batman 209, and this is an interesting one. This is one that I normally wouldn't have picked up, but it is probably in the 8.5 range, which is really hard to find for a book from 1969, especially with a black spine, so I might submit it because of that. It doesn't fetch that much of a price though, so maybe it would just be like a fun project for me. Looks like the last 8.0 sold for $100, so I would probably be in that range. But I wouldn't be doing anything like this to make money. This would be just a fun pet project for me. Isn't it weird seeing such a brand new book be higher than all the other comics I just showed? This is Batman 106, the first cameo appearance of Miracle Molly, and a few other notable things. While there's not much sales data going on, Raws are selling for like $30, and this is the main cover A, nothing special at all. I think the CGC 9.8s are going to start coming back soon, and I think they're going to be decently in the $100 to $150 area. There was a nice dollar book find right there, first appearance of Hardware, and it's a clean 9.8. It's been perfectly preserved. There's no dinged corners. It's never been opened. It's completely sealed in its polybag. I'm expecting it to get a 9.8. They do have to remove it from the polybag to grade that book though, so I'm really hoping it does. $1, and CGC 9.8s fetch anywhere from like 115 to 120 bucks, so that's pretty exciting. And I saw this book might be on the rise, so definitely submitting. Here's Batman 256, and I got a steal on this. It was a nice $4. That was from that flea market, and looks like a CGC 9.2, which is fully what I think this thing can get. This thing is clean. Last 9.2, the last 9.0 sold for 116 bucks. So if this gets a 9.2 or a 9.4, maybe I'd be in the $200 range to play it safe. Let's say this one's 116 bucks. Sorry that this one's so wrinkly, and I actually, I got 3 of these suckers. This is New Mutants, number 18, the first appearance of Warlock, and you can peg this anywhere from like a $20 to $30 raw high-grade book. Actually, they all look like 9.8s to me. I will be submitting them out. In 1984, these are also the newsstand copies. Believe it or not, CGC 9.8s of these are 125 bucks, so that would be pretty cool if I could get all 3 in 125, because I paid $20 for the lot of them. Here's another one that's a surefire 9.8. This is Batman number 609. It's like a 20 to all the way to like a $40 high-grade raw. CGC 9.8s are selling for like $130. Funny thing is, you can still find this for great deals. This is one that you can often find and only pay like $10, $15 for. And if you can, you should. Here's another book I've been submitting a lot to CGC lately. I've gotten a 9.8 every time. I've gotten 2 from this haul. One of them, because it was a couple weeks ago, I already submitted out to CGC. This is the second one that I got more recently. Looks like another clean 9.8 candidate to me, so it's going out. First appearance in a cameo of Jessica Cruz, and it goes for about 130 all the way to like 140 bucks. This next one was pretty cool, especially for what I paid. This was $10 and this was $5. Funny thing is I actually think they should have been flipped, and I think this is the more valuable one. Remember, her first appearance, Spider-Girl's first appearance, is What If number 105. This isn't that first appearance, but the covers look identical. This is just the first issue of her own title. The one on the bottom is probably like a $150 9.8, and this one right here, number 1, because this is issue 0, this is issue number 1, that's probably a $160, and they both look like 9.8s. This one needs a press though, it's got a little spine roll. Green Lantern number 12 from 1962, very early here, and it's probably like a 6.0, it's only in fine grade, probably worth about 20 bucks. I did pay much less. Now, a fair market of a CGC 6.0 is around $160, so am I going to submit it? I try to only submit silvers if they're like 7s or higher, so we'll see. And that actually brings me to Green Lantern number 22, this time from 1963. This is like an 8.0 or an 8.5 candidate, so I'm really excited. I'm telling myself I'm playing it safe, that it's in like the 7 range, but the last 8.0 sold for $170, and I'm thinking this one might be able to fetch even higher. We'll see. I am submitting this one in. Here's one that wasn't technically part of the haul. This actually came from a fan of the channel. They know I like Green Lantern, and I've been chasing the first appearance of Simon Baz. And I don't know if this is a 9.8, it might be like a 9.6, but I'm definitely submitting it in. It was for free. Thank you, Mark, if you're watching. This one's going out to CGC. A 9.8 is about 165 to 170 bucks for this bad boy. Pretty nice. First appearance of Simon Baz, Green Lantern. Marvel Fanfare number 11, probably a $30 raw high-grade book. I love what I paid for that though. I paid 10 bucks. CGC 9.8 goes for about 170 to $175. It's the first appearance of Iron Maiden. And it seems to be a book that is steadily climbing a little bit, so we'll see. Another total easy 9.8 contender, that's Deadpool number 1, his first own title. And it's probably a $30 worth raw book in this high of a grade, especially when I look at it and I say, yeah, that's going to get the 9.8. It's probably worth 30 bucks. If it does get the 9.8, this can go all the way up to $200. When did this become a $200 9.8? This market is crazy. Here's one that is riding the edge of a 9.6 and a 9.8. there are 2 non-color breaking spine ticks, really small. I think that they are pressable. I'm definitely going to give it a try. A raw should fetch actually like $100, so that was a big find. I will say a 9.8 fetches $300, and at 9.6 it's cut in half. It's like $150, maybe you could get $200 out of it. So I'm really hoping for that 9.8. Here's another book that when I was doing my research, I was pretty shocked to see the current value of this. This is a very 9.8 ready Death of Superman 75. It's like a, oh, I don't know. You used to see these in dollar bins, but I guess it's like a $20 book right now. But if you happen to squeeze a 9.8 from CGC, what was that crazy last sale? $225 was the last sale. This used to be $100 for the longest time, 100 flat. Absolutely crazy, but hey, works for me. Up next, Swamp Thing number 7 from 1973, and one of my favorite comic book covers of all time. It's Swamp Thing meeting Batman. 2 of my favorite characters ever for the first time. It's about a $60 raw for such a high grade like this. This is probably like a 9.4 to be honest with you guys. Last CGC 9.4 went for $250, and I believe it. 9.8 in this is over $1,000 by the way, but a 9.8 from 1973 for this book is really tough. Speaking of a 9.8 that hit over $1,000, from 1980 we've got the first appearance of SheHulk. Again, 9.8s do get about $1,000, which is funny because I remember they were just like a $450 book. What happened? I blinked and it became like this. This, unfortunately, it's got the best corners. It's so sharp, but it's actually got some water damage up at the top and a little bit around the back. So that might bring it down all the way to an 8.0 or maybe even more. So I don't know what this is going to be. I'm definitely going to attempt to clean it, press it, and send it off. Let's see, I spent $50 on this book. And now raw, it's honestly probably worth $150, so I'm not mad. The last 8.0 sold for $300. Hopefully, if I can get some of that damage out, maybe we can get a 9.0 out of that. 9.0s are over 500, but I don't want to get my hopes up too high. We'll be submitting. Here's another one that I promise you will get a 9.8. This is Avengers 257, first appearance of Nebula, and this is as clean as an old book gets. I think this is 1985. This is actually the first one I've ever owned of it too. This is about a $40 high grade book if you buy it raw. If you manage to get a 9.8, the last sale was $350, but the fair market value says it's around $300. Granted, I think I'm going to be able to get it, so I'm definitely going to submit that out. This next one, Detective Comics 384, is a definite submission. This is from 1969, and guys, this is like a 9.4. Straight up, this thing is virtually flawless. And for a 1969 book to look like this, you really want to submit this in to keep that preserved forever. I'd honestly, confidently say it's a 9.4 with a press. Last 9.4 sold for $313, but with the market doing the crazy stuff, who knows where it'll be in the 6 months when it finally comes back from CGC. God of War number 1, the first appearance of God of War in comic books. I was pleasantly surprised to find that a raw in such a high grade like this should be worth about $100. A CGC 9.8 goes all the way up to about $330, and I'm confident that it can get the 9.8. But if I do get the 9.8, I'm probably not going to sell it. I love God of War, and that last PlayStation 4 game of God of War, I thought it was one of the best games the last 10 years, so this one's a PC book. This next one's one of my favorite comics of all time, Green Lantern number 40. This is when Hal Jordan meets Alan Scott, and it's the first appearance of Krona, one of my favorite Green Lantern villains. This is a crazy nice book. It's one I've had before. I had a terrible copy of it before, so it's nice to have a nice one back in my collection. Right now, it's probably a 6.0, 6.5, but a lot of the problems are pressable, so I can't wait to get that thing pressed. I am confident I can get that to a 7.0, maybe even a 7.5, but let's play it safe. Last 7.0 sold for $350. Sounds good to me. We're getting somewhat close to the end here. This is from one of my favorite shows of the last couple years, The Boys. Well, this is obviously the comic from 2006. This is issue number 3, first appearance of Homelander and the Seven. Homelander is one of my favorite joke comic book characters or satire characters. I think he's absolutely fascinating and a great villain in the show. His comic book counterpart's very different, but he's still very enjoyable. Raw, this is probably an $80 to $100 book. CGC 9.8 last went for $380. Pretty much a $400 9.8 and rising. You guys already know what this is. XFactor number 6, the first appearance of Apocalypse, another book getting hotter and hotter. This one is teetering between a 9.8 and a 9.6. I'm submitting it either way. I did spend $60 for this book, but if you consider this value, this should go for like $100, so it was still a good deal. I'm definitely submitting it out. I will also put the money into getting it pressed professionally, and I really want to see if I can squeak a 9.8 out of that. This is a pretty flawless book. There's one non-color breaking spine tick, and it's actually on the part where the spine is black, so I gotta be really careful not to mess with that. And now for the final 5. We're getting into the big boys. I spent $30 on this. The guy at the flea market wanted $50. I got it down to $30. And either way, $50 would have been an amazing deal. But I was particularly low on my budget at that point, so I wanted to make sure I got it. First, Silver Age appearance of Scarecrow, and it's probably a fine grade. I think at best it'll get a 6.0 with a press, I think. I don't know if I'm going to submit it, to be honest with you. The last CGC 6.0 sale was $500, so I mean, it's clearly worth it, but I don't know. I've been wanting a 189 for my collection for a while. I actually had a much worse version of it for years, and I've been looking for a better copy, and this is a better copy than the one I had, so I don't know. I have a whole raw collection. I kind of want to keep it raw. I don't know. Maybe you guys let me know in the comments. I can't believe this is the 4th to last book. I thought this would be my number 1 most valuable book, but it's actually the 4th to last. Aquaman 35. I would call it very fine grade, probably a 7.0 or a 7.5, which is very respectable. This was from that store that had that awesome Aquaman collection. Who has awesome Silver Age Aquaman these days? That was pretty sweet. This one was actually one of the less nicer ones. They had a lot in the 8.0, 8.5 range, but this one's a major key. And the last 7.0 sold for $600, so if I pressed it and got it to a 7.5, maybe that's even higher. This is one I would sell in order to fund my Green Lantern and my Batman collection for sure. But this is a book I've never owned before, so that's pretty cool. Another one from the flea market. Here's another one that I spent $30 on. This is Strange Tales number 169, first appearance of Brother Voodoo. And this is a book that got hot over the last year out of nowhere. I mean, people always liked this book, but it's just gotten crazy numbers. I think a 9.8 is like $8,000 or something crazy like that. This is nowhere near a 9.8. Although I would say it's like an 8.0, which is a pretty respectable grade for a pre-1975 book. And the last 8.0 sold for $605, and the one prior sold for $825. So let's meet in the middle and say the value of this, once appraised and slabbed, might be around $720. $30 well spent here, guys. Second to last book, we got Marvel graphic novel number 4, the first appearance of the New Mutants, Cannonball, Mirage, Sunspot, Wolfsbane. If you're going to ask, yes, it is the first printing. You can tell it's the first printing by that $4.95 logo. If you see a $5.95, that's probably the second print. Now, I kid you not, this thing is looking like a 9.8 without even a press, which of course I will press it, but I don't know too much about pressing magazines. I only know about pressing comics, and this is magazine format, so maybe I don't touch it, maybe I just send it in. If I get a 9.8 for this book, you want to know what that's worth? First of all, a raw is worth anywhere from $100 to $250 in such a high grade for this book. But if this gets a CGC 9.8, This is now an into the $1,000 books. This is at least $1,000 in a 9.8, and we got even 9.6s coming close up to that $1,000 mark right now. So that's awesome. And for the number 1 spot, we have Special Marvel Edition number 15. And let me tell you guys, I got that thing at the perfect time. Got this before that trailer came out, and this book got even crazier. I would label this as a very fine plus, possibly into the near mint minus range. With a press, I do believe that this book should be able to fetch a 9.0, 9.2, maybe even a 9.4, but even if it just got a 9.0, guys, the last 9.0 sale, which I think this book can do and more, last 9.0 sale was $2,025. Now, I spent $150 on this book, so it wasn't cheap. But considering raw high grades are going for $500 right now, the comic gods told me to buy that, and I am so glad that I did. So that's what I've been up to in April of 2021. The funny thing is, I think overall it's kind of a lighter comic haul than I usually do on a month-to-month basis, but my top books are way awesome. Some of the best books I've ever picked up, to be completely honest with you. So I'm hoping for some great things in 2021. A lot of personal collection books, a lot of books that are going to be able to fund other personal collection books, and a couple things that I might use for giveaways on the channel, things like that. Overall, I am pumped. I am super satisfied. Let me know down in the comments what you think and what have your hauls been looking like lately. You get anything good? Share below. And as always, guys, keep on collecting.